This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, this is the week 2 live session for Color Theory. In attendance is Alicia, Cassie, Dustin, Aichen, Randy, and Rebecca. Great group. Glad you guys could make it. All right, so this week is exciting. We're starting a new project. We're going to create a fictional company branding. You're going to create a logo and color palette. So we're going to go through this step by step over the course of the next 3 weeks. This is what this week looks like. So of course we're not on Monday, we're on Tuesday because of the holiday. Now, I know this compresses the week a bit, so I will put this out there that if you feel rushed and you need more time, you may have it. The one thing that I ask is that we keep the discussion on target. So as always, if you submit things to the discussion, you're not going to be graded on the actual work you submit, you'll be graded on the quality of your discussion interaction. So keep that in mind. Do the best you can. Tomorrow I'll do a live critique. If anybody has anything they want to show me or go over, you can catch me at noon. If you're not going to be there at noon, if you're going to be there at like 12:30, let me know ahead of time because I tend to wait, a little bit for people to show up. If no one shows up in 10 minutes or so, I usually close it up. But I will look at any work that's been submitted at that in the discussion, the live critique discussion. So you're going to post your work. You're going to work on some logo icon sketches, and then you're going to do what we call a logo process and identity rough. So this is sort of taking a logo through a process of creating ideas and then bringing them into Illustrator and adding logo type. So it's kind of a rigorous process through the end of the week, but you're not going to be totally finished with this project by Sunday. You're just going to have sort of your logo roughs figured out. As you go into next week, we'll finalize your logo and create an identity package and start to work on color palette. So this is kind of the first step, sort of understanding branding and understanding your individual project. Now, as I said, you should all have gone to the Google Doc and signed up for a brand. Has anybody in attendance not done that or is confused about this part of the assignment? No? Speak up now. Dustin has not yet. So here's the thing, Dustin, they go quick if you want your pick. Now, Dustin, the reason you have not is just you haven't gotten to it. It's not because you're confused and don't know what to do or anything, right? Rebecca has joined us. All right. All right. So take a look at that Google Doc and put your name in on a brand that you want to pick.
Like medical condition, or I got a little more of the drug. I could have been seriously injured or died.
All right, David, you get a lot of background noise there. I love when students turn on the microphone, but I like to hear them speak rather than just background noise. So. All right, let's move on. Logos. We're going to talk about logos. Now, everyone's done some logos at some point so far, have you? Yep. Yes, you have. I'm going to show you a process for doing a logo. And it is not the only process, but it is a process that will work for you. Now, that's right, David. If you follow, here's the thing about process and design. If you follow the process, you get results. You have to trust it. You have to go through the process and trust that you're doing the right thing. So I encourage you to follow my methods this month. And as you go forward, you may learn other methods and you should follow whatever makes you comfortable in the future. Why logos? All right, so why do we have logos? What's their function? Can anyone answer that?
Is an identifier.
Yes, it's an identifier. It helps us recognize a company.
Comfort and privilege, Louise number and served.
All right, David, I'm just going to keep you on mute there. Yeah, it's a fast way to identify a company, right? So you see it and you see the burger and you get it, right? You don't have to read. You know, my daughter, when she was 2 years old, couldn't read yet. She recognized Panera logo because it's visual. And she'd say, let's go get mac and cheese at Panera. Yeah, so it helps companies identify themselves, but it also does it fast and it does it in a visual way. If you look back in history, it kind of goes back to like medieval icons and things. Like, you know, people didn't all read back in medieval times. So if you wanted your shoe fixed, you looked for the sign of the cobbler. You wouldn't necessarily look for the words. Back in the olden days, military troops, they used color and flags. Flags were like an icon, essentially, and the uniforms are a color palette that unifies the groups, brings your team together. This is from a famous painting by John Singleton Copley called The Death of Major Pearson, and it depicts the Battle of Jersey off the coast of France, where the British repelled the French. Logos go way back. This is a painting by David, but of an ancient Roman battle, the Battle of the Sabine. And do you see the logo in here? Yes, David, I'm sympathetic. I have stuff going on here too as well. I'm going to turn your mic back on.
Hello.
Yes, on the shield, Dustin said. Yeah, there it is. Does anybody know what that's a picture of? Yeah, it looks like a bear, Ancient, doesn't it? It's actually
Yeah, I
not
can't really see that too clearly.
It's actually not a bear, it's a wolf. It looks like a bear, but it's a wolf feeding two human children. It is the symbol of Rome, the she-wolf feeding Romulus and Remus, the mythical founders of Rome. And it doesn't really look like a wolf to us because back then people didn't really know what wolves looked like, because if you saw one, you probably didn't live to tell about it. But clothing optional battle. All right. Bring it forward to the 20th century. All right, Robert Venturi wrote a book called Learning from Las Vegas. This is a picture from that book. One of the things he did, he was a famous architect in New York, and he pointed out that in the modern world, we're driving around fast around the world, and we don't look for the buildings. We look for the logo. When you're hungry, you're driving home, you look for the golden arches. You don't look for the building of McDonald's. So logos on the highways, physical highways of America, become the substitute for architecture. They're the sign that draws us in, that attracts our attention. Now, take that forward to the internet, and it kind of makes even more sense, right? Because the highways are even faster there. Here's the logo. You're all familiar with this logo. This logo has some, yeah. This logo has some distinctive parts to it, and I'll go through them. So it has an icon and it has a logo type. Now this structure for a logo is really quite efficient and effective. Together, the icon and the logo type make what we call the logo lockup. So let's talk a little bit about the icon. Do you know why what it is? It's a plane, obviously, but why is it a plane? Does anyone know?
Maybe that represents like our journey here at Full Sail, maybe?
That's a good guess. So originally Full Sail had a ship flying through the sky. And apparently that ship belonged to Disney, the illustration. And so they said one day, you can't use that anymore. So they had to quickly come up with something else. And the idea was, well, a plane also flies through the sky and it's a little more contemporary, modern. And they actually used a DC-3, which was the first major passenger plane. And so they felt it kind of made sense with the advanced technology and yeah, flying to your dreams, like overcoming obstacles. You're going over all those things that usually prevent people from going to college.
Hmm.
Um, so, so it kind of made sense in that way. It's a symbol, and it symbolizes the brand, right? We don't sell airplanes. We don't sell flights on airplanes. We sell an education. So it's a symbol. Uh, and then the logo type is real simple underneath. So this structure is what I want you to follow for this month for your logo. If you look at, there are other logos that don't use this, like these logos. These are both what we would call word marks. So the word itself is done in a distinctive style that makes the logo, right? Can anybody tell me what do you think these two companies have in common besides red?
Uh,
I would say their type is like wavy.
The type is similar, yeah. Actually, it is, they're both very old companies, like 150 years old. And the type represents handwriting from the 19th century. This is what script writing looked like 150 years ago. And so it's pretty straightforward, nicely done calligraphy, but it's just really script writing. So in the contemporary world, it's not a great functional logo. For instance, if you think about apps on a phone, you want a nice little square icon like Facebook. These are actually cupcakes. But you can see how icons, because they fit in squares and circles, they actually function really well through the internet and on apps and things like that. The Coca-Cola logo has less of that. They use a wave, I think, for their icon, just the wave. But they also spend billions of dollars marketing. So the full sail structure of a logo is quite useful. If you look at this, okay, so in an airport, you want a taxi? Here's a taxi. It's an icon. It's simple, it's clean, and it communicates really quickly. You see what looks like a car, but with a little bump on the roof, and you get that it's a taxi. You don't even need to read the word. You sort of get it. So really good icons kind of function that way. The YMCA a few years ago did a sort of brand rebranding, and they asked a lot of people about the YMCA, and they came back and said, you know what? No one calls it the YMCA. Everyone calls it the Y. So change the logo to reflect how everyone identifies it. So they did change it, and they still kept YMCA here, but it's smaller. But it's much more iconic and quick. It also has a little kind of Easter egg in here, like this arrow. It kind of looks like start on the treadmill, maybe. The play button, right? So it kind of helps in that respect. Now they have this complex color palette. The color palettes mean different things. Like one is for physical fitness, one is for community involvement, one is for family. But because it's complicated, people even at the YMCA couldn't explain it to me. Somewhere I have the manual that explains it all. But when you make things complicated, people don't pay attention, they don't get it. Keep it simple and they'll pay attention. All right, so can you name some icons that are simple and read clearly right away?
Nike.
That's a very good one since it's kind of in the news today. Were you aware of that, David?
Yeah. I just saw that earlier. My grandma was watching the news.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Randy. So tell everyone what's the news with Nike.
I think they hired Colin Kaepernick to be not the poster child, but I guess like the face of a certain ad. And then in response, some people destroyed Nike products. So that's what's going around right now.
Yes. Yeah, so they sort of stuck their neck out on a social issue, and they said they put Colin Kaepernick's photo and said, um, "Stand for something you're willing to sacrifice everything." I'm paraphrasing, but it was a pretty powerful statement. And they actually had a contract with Kaepernick earlier, and so they had him under contract already. But Yeah, so kind of an interesting marketing thing. I'm sure that Nike, with all its resources, has done enormous amounts of research to figure out that this will not hurt their company doing this. They're very careful. So even though you see sort of people burning shoes and stuff, I think Nike's going to be okay. What do you guys think?
I think it's funny that they're burning the stuff, but yet they still bought it to burn it.
Yeah, you still paid for it. Now you're burning it. Yeah, not very smart. Anyway, some other, Dustin said Apple. Sharon said Starbucks. Yeah, uh, these are uh, these are brands that pop into our heads right away when we see those icons, like Apple, for instance, which I got here. So, can anyone tell me, why is Apple an apple? Why do they have an apple for a logo?
I don't remember. I know I've been told this before too.
Yeah, Cassie, you got anything?
Because they like fruit.
That's a good answer. All right, Sharon says it's universal. Yeah, I think that's part of the answer, Sharon. I'll tell you what I know about Apple from some research I did and from sort of living through the period of their development. But um, when Steve Jobs first started Apple, the dominant computer in the market was from IBM. It was a PC. And when you turned it on, you got a blinking cursor and you had to type in the right code to load the operating system. If you didn't type in the right code, it would just beep and keep blinking. So it was really kind of intimidating in a way. And a lot of people, in order to do it, you get a huge manual like the size of a phone book, and it tell you how to program code. And basically, people who are into coding and mathematicians and scientists and things were the only people who really got into it. Well, Steve Jobs had a vision that computing could be for everybody, and it should be more accessible. So let's talk about an apple. What do you have to do to eat an apple?
Bite into it.
Yeah, bite into it. Nothing. It's right there. You pull it off the tree and eat it. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to peel it. You should probably wash it maybe, but other than that, it's extremely accessible. Apples are also all over the world. As Sharon said, it's universal. They're all over. Yeah, Enchen, just take a bite. So that's kind of the philosophy of Apple computers. When the first Macintosh came out, you turned it on, and instead of a blinking cursor, it spelled out in sort of a script 8-bit graphic, hello, welcomed you, like your computer is your friend talking to you, instead of beeping at you and telling you did something wrong. So he really changed the way people perceived personal computing. And the apple sort of symbolizes those changes: accessible, universal, easy to access, friendly. It also has some connotation about knowledge, the knowledge, the Garden of Eden, uh, then also Isaac Newton with the apple fell on his head and he figured out the laws of physics. So you bring an apple to the teacher. So there's all these positive affiliations with the word apple. Now that's what branding is about. Branding is about ideas, concepts, and feelings. It's not about literal, like if it was very literal, it'd be a motherboard or a circuit or something, right? But the logo symbolizes the philosophy. And in that way, Apple has expanded beyond just computing and create a lot of products that make things accessible to people, makes our friends accessible to us through communication, through texting, through imagery. You can take a phone and take a picture and post what you ate for dinner, and everyone knows now. So easy, accessible, that's what it's all about. All right, can you think of any other logos that kind of do this kind of thing, symbolize something?
Target.
Target, what a great suggestion. Yeah, there's Target. Uh, Now, who said that about Target?
Cassie.
Yeah, Cassie. All right. Cassie, tell me, what do you know about Target? What made you say that?
Because the icon is just so bold and it's got, you just recognize it everywhere you go. My son recognized it when he was a year old, and you
Right.
automatically know if you have bags with Target symbols on them, you've spent money.
Yes, it's very powerful. It sort
Yeah.
of grabs you. Now, I'll tell you the brief story of how Target became Target because it's kind of interesting. Uh, Sam Walton, you know who he is?
Yeah, Walmart.
Yeah, he's the founder of Walmart. He figured out a way to get things into the stores cheaper than anybody else. It's called logistics, shipping things in. He figured it out. He figured the formula. And so he was able to have lower prices in Walmart stores than anybody else. And they started opening up Walmarts all over the country. And every city they opened a Walmart in, the other department stores went out of business trying to compete because they couldn't match his prices. And one by one, all these stores, Caldors, Kmart, uh, dozens of others went out of business. Davidson's department store in Minneapolis was aware of this coming to Minneapolis, and they changed their name to Target. And they said, you know what? We're not going to compete on price. We're going to make the in-store experience nicer. And in a way, if you go to Target now, they don't have everything. They don't have everything Walmart has, but the stuff they have is usually more of what you want, right?
And that's
It's
why
more,
you go to Target for one thing and you leave $150 later with 8 things you didn't need because of the store environment.
exactly. The environment makes you feel comfortable to spend some money.
Yeah.
Uh, and they have products like I would say a curated collection of products that are more specific to what you need. Now, when I go to Target and they don't have something I specifically need, I would go to Walmart because they probably have it. But I hate going to Walmart because it's huge, it's confusing, it's giant, it's not targeted, it's everything all in one place. So um,
And they just automated like all their checkout lines here too. So we go there just for groceries because the Walmart experience is so bad, but we're cheap.
yes, right. So they appeal to a certain segment of consumers that are more interested in the experience than the price. And that's made them survive. They've survived the onslaught of Walmart, whereas many other stores have gone by the wayside. When you go to Target, the branding is omnipresent. So this red color, uh, this is a store in Minneapolis, but it could be the store near you, right? They all look very similar. They have that red color throughout, the red uh, polos on the people in the store. And that kind of consistency of branding makes consumers feel comfortable enough to whip out their credit card and spend some money. When things are inconsistent, it makes you nervous. So let's talk about logos a little more. So here's the best logos are visual metaphors. So here's a couple of logos. So what's this a picture of here for NBC?
A peacock.
Yes. Yeah, Dustin said it too. Peacock. So why do you think NBC is a peacock? What do you think that symbolizes? Originally, they put a peacock on TV because they had color TV. They were the first to have color TV. So they put a live peacock on TV so you could see all the color. Um, yes, Cassie?
That's a good idea.
Well,
Never thought.
it evolved into this symbolic peacock, which I would say symbolizes diversity, diversity of programming, diversity of staff, a variety of colors. So they're kind of making a statement with that same peacock. How about AT&T? What's this a picture of? The world, right, Sharon? Yeah, it looks like the world, and it's kind of like information zooming around the globe at the speed of light, which is what AT&T does. Anybody know what AT&T stands for?
They're a phone company.
They're
I
a
don't
phone
know what
company, yes.
it's for, but I know it's a phone company.
Right, Rebecca. So, well, they stand for American Telephone and Telegraph. This is the original company that Alexander Graham Bell created when he invented the telephone.
I didn't know
Yeah. Things you learn in color theory. All right. So let's talk about logos. So here's some samples of logos. Now, there's some interesting things here. For instance, this imaginary friend. Now, you see the seesaw mysteriously going down where no one is, right? So in a way, there's a bit of paradox here. This is like impossible. Not totally impossible because she could be pushing up, but it gives you that kind of funny feeling like, oh, that's interesting. If you can visualize paradox, you've got a winning formula. So figure out how to do that. This one, paint the city. There are two images here. Do you see them?
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a paint can and there's a cityscape.
Yeah.
The negative space becomes a secondary image. So if you can create two images in one image, that's another kind of winning formula for creating a logo. Like use your negative space to your advantage. Farm to fork. Okay, this is another one where it's a fork, but it's also these little critters on the fork. So it's two images in one. This one, maritime law, it's the scales of justice, but they put a twist on it. So it's not just scales, they turned them into boats. So if you put a twist on it, the same thing with the barcode. It's not just a mug, it's also a barcode. How about embassy landlines? Do you see the telephone here?
Yep.
Yeah. So in the negative space, they created a secondary image, just like paint the city. So these are techniques, like ways of thinking that you can create some interesting logos. If the company's called Roostar, that's pretty much it. You got to make a rooster with a star. Earth, it's like air and earth at once. This one I like, Gym Guide. It's a GG, but it's also a dumbbell, right? I'm not a fan of putting pictures in the type. I prefer the sort of icon logo type thing, but you know, it's cute. Same thing with this bread. So consider different techniques for creating two images in one, paradox, those kind of things. All right, so what do these companies do? All right, what's this first one look like?
Wine and like
Wine. Yeah, corkscrew, right. How about this one?
A movie reel.
It does look like a movie reel. Do you see a secondary image in there?
A face.
Yeah. What's the face's expression?
Like the
wow.
screaming, like the scream. Reminds me of
Yeah.
the
Yeah, so what kind of movies do they show?
horror movies.
Good guess. All right, how about this one?
Plug socket.
What else? You see letters?
Oh, E and
ED.
ED, yeah, all right. How about this one? What's in there?
Screwdriver?
like a pin and a spoon.
Yeah, so what do you think they do?
Eating right.
Eating right. Well, yeah, that's kind of close. All right. This one I'll help you out. This is a button with the letter F. This one is, everyone knows what this is, right?
WWF.
Yeah,
Panda
World Pan. Oh no, who said that? That was
I
Randy.
did.
Yeah, it's World Wildlife Fund.
Oh, it looks like Panda Express.
The brilliance of this icon is the simplicity of it, and it comes across. The negative space works. You know, it's just black and white. How about this company? What do they do?
They build. They build. And I think
They build things.
I'm looking at the house. That's why I'm just like, yeah. I see
Yeah,
like.
Dustin says they sell tools.
Home repair?
But you sort of see the house icon here in the negative space.
Yeah.
This one's a little tough. So this looks like a factory, right? But it's actually the mill, which is a sound stage. And so this is like the sound meter, but also the mill. Minnesota Property Maintenance, the Fashion Center. This is an electrical company. The initials are ED. The Guild of Food Writers,
Uh,
horror films, and this is Sanctus Spiritus Wines, which I always thought this was a corkscrew, but then I thought maybe it's like a spirit going up.
Mm.
I have to do a little more research on that. So here's a logo that I really like. So what do you think of this?
Interesting.
What comes to mind when you see this picture? Yeah, Sharon got it. Glass half full. Right away, it pops in your head, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't say that anywhere, but we've all heard that expression. And when we see this image, which is actually kind of a bit of paradox, it's impossible, it pops into our head. When you can make a phrase or an idea pop into someone's head from a visual, you've got a winning logo. That is a winning logo. When you can have the viewer complete the joke, say the punchline in their own mind. So consider that. All right, now I'm going to talk about Louise Philly. Now, Louise Philly is a designer in New York, and she kind of breaks some of the rules I've already talked about, but she's worth looking at. She does something unique with her logos. She has a certain style that makes us think of a time long ago, like maybe from the 1920s. These are restaurant logos. The Post 390 looks like an old postage stamp from the 1920s. Piccoline, which is a line of food products, and it looks like it's been around for 100 years. So what she does is kind of spark your imagination. Like here's a restaurant, the Artisanal. When you see this, you imagine that the cheese they serve comes from this beautiful, idyllic upstate New York farm. Who knows if it really comes from there? But like I said, it sparks your imagination. Uh, Looking at this logo, what would you say the place is like? Can you imagine yourself being there and what it would be like?
would be wonderful.
Was that Cassie?
Yeah.
Yeah. It does look, it kind of sparks you. I'm like, oh, I want to try that. I can picture myself sitting there on a spring day, having a glass of wine and some great cheese with some good friends sitting outside. I have no idea what this place is like for real, but the logo makes me feel like, hey, I want to try that. If you can do that with a logo, that's really important. This is another New York restaurant called Marseille. Uh, Now, when I see this, it sort of sparks some thoughts in my head because I've been to Marseille. But what do you guys think when you see this place? What do you think it's like?
An Italian restaurant kind of has that vibe to it.
Yeah, it does feel Italian. Now, Marseille is on the French coast, like very close to Italy. So it
Mhm.
does have that sort of Mediterranean Italian feeling. Um, I picture white tablecloths, some good wine, and maybe some music playing, and sort of that kind of Mediterranean food. Um, It feels a little bit like a celebration or something because the script writing kind of feels playful and fun. And the word Marseille brings to mind some romantic ideas about Europe. So again, sparking your imagination. Now I'm going to show you a video of Louise Philly, an interview with her, which is kind of cool to listen to. I'm hoping it works okay through the live session. If you can't hear it or something's going wrong, please say something in the chat window and I'll try to adjust. So anyway, here's the video. Oops.
Louise Philly, New York City. I have a very narrow focus for my studio. It's the only three things I'm interested in: food, type, and all things Italian. New York is a city of specialists, and this is a place where you can have a studio totally devoted to book jacket design or food like I do. And I really don't think that would be possible anywhere else in the US. I've always had a small studio. I have 2 people working for me at any given time, a senior designer and a junior designer. And when a new client comes in, I'll meet with them. I'll come up with the creative direction for the project. I'll do a long series of sketches, and then I'll sit down with one of my designers and review it, and then work with them closely until we have the final product. Working at Lubalin was an incredible experience. It was a place where there was such devotion to typography. It's something I had never been exposed to before. My office was in very close proximity to Herb, so I could really witness his thought process firsthand, which was a great opportunity. For me, it was mesmerizing to watch Herb sketch out an idea. It was all in the sketch, and just watching him use either hand to work on his tracing pad to make an idea come alive. For me, that was and still is the most exciting part of design. It's the sketch stage, because that's really the soul of the design. When I started my business, which was 25 years ago, it was a liability for a woman to start a business, especially to name it after herself. And in those days, believe it or not, we didn't have Google. And the only way to find somebody was in the telephone book, so I really had no choice. But I knew that there would be certain types of people who would take umbrage at the idea of a woman owning a studio. And that's particularly why I decided to name the studio what I did, because I really wanted to send a clear message, and that was, if you don't feel comfortable working with me, then I don't want you as a client. What I've tried to instill in all my staff, particularly the women, is that they can have their own business and they can succeed. And no, there was no one telling me that when I was that age. So I think it's very important to be a role model.
All right, so that music really gets you in the headphones there. What did you guys think of Louise Fili?
She's inspiring.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I showed it to her.
Yeah, amazing.
Go ahead,
I'm
Randy.
checking her workout.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who's speaking?
No, yeah, it's Randy. No, I was saying that I'm gonna check her workout right now, actually. Well, after the live session's done.
Yes. All right. Cool. Yeah, she's got some good stuff. So, kind of a little bit of inspiration there. When you start off doing this logo, you're going to just design, first you're going to figure out your icon, then you're going to add logo type. Keep it black and white, because we're going to work on color next week. But if you, just kind of like your hero portrait, if you keep it black and white to start, keep it simple, sort of forces you into simplicity. And then you can add complexity easily later. This is the 92nd Street Y logo designed by Pentagram. Here's some more Pentagram logos, and they show them in black and white on their website. So stick to black and white to start. You're going to do sketches, 10 sketches. I want you to do a lot of sketches before you get to those 10. Those 10 should be the cream of the crop. What I'm looking for is 10 unique ideas, not just 10 sketches. So as you create them, you're going to go through ideas, and maybe you'll have 15 sketches of one concept, and you pick one of those as the representative of that idea. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So don't commit to one design too early. That's the other thing. Now, the creative process, we've all gone through it. This is how it works. You get you get started. You have a couple of ideas right off the bat. You start drawing them up. They're all kind of mediocre. And then you keep trying to push, and you get nothing. And you think, I'm terrible. I'm going to fail color theory, and I'm never going to make it as a designer. What I want you to do at that moment when you feel stuck is to go do some research, find some inspiration, find other things, and then come back at it again when you sort of like refueled your brain, and you will come up with better ideas. Everyone goes through this, so don't despair. The key is to keep pushing and keep trying. Now you come up with an idea, you think, wow, that's it, I've got it. Now I just have to fill out 9 other sketches. Don't do that. What you want to do is take your best idea, sort of pin it up on the wall and say, how can I beat that? What can I do? By the time you're done, that first great idea you came up with should be the weakest one you came up with because you've pushed beyond it each time. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand.
Yeah, because you've experienced that. You get stuck and you feel panicky. Don't feel panicky. Do other things. And we'll go through the template and I'll show you the things that you're going to do. Start pencil and paper. You're going to work toward the computer. You may come back to pencil and paper later on, but I want you to work in pencil and paper. If you're really into a tablet or something like that, you can use that if you want. But I want it to be sort of an immediate experience, not using Illustrator yet. Make sense?
Yes.
All right, so this is a student sample. So this is Heather's. She did Mount Sappho soap, and she has 10 ideas. So it's a Greek soap, so she's got Greek imagery, sort of an olive wreath with the MS, winged horse, some wings with the Mount Sappho, a Greek key kind of pattern, a Grecian urn, a column. Oh no, another winged horse. So this is really the same idea. I would not count these as two separate, but she has 11, so she's okay. Then this idea was sort of a horse and wing icon, another Greek key, and a different circle configuration, some wings. So I'm looking for concepts, not necessarily just sketches. And they should have to do with the feeling of your brand, not the literal. There's no bars of soap here. Because she's doing Mount Sappho soap, but there are no bars of soap and no bubbles. She's actually kind of gone beyond all that. So that's what I'm looking for. To help you do this, I've included this visual metaphor matrix. I'm not going to go through it now because we're short on time, but a description of this is in the assignment. You don't have to do this, but it could help you sort of push some new ideas that if you get stuck. It looks like this. So you're kind of putting words on one end and words on the other and trying to draw the intersection of those words. If you do decide to do this, draw the easy ones first. It's really just an idea generating tool. There are many other ways to generate ideas, but in the end, you're going to put in your 10 unique ideas into your presentation template. So once you get your icon done, which is going to be by Friday, I think, you're going to add logo type because we have the icon, logo type, lockup. By the end of the week, you're going to have 3 lockups that you're going to test out to figure out which one's the winner. Design is thinking made visible. Do you know who said that? Here he is. I give you a clue. It's Saul Bass. You've heard of Saul Bass, right? Famous 20th century designer. Mentioned sort of him. Yes, he reconfigured movie posters at a time when movie posters were sort of airbrushy and very realistic. This is what he was doing, this very graphic art. Drawing from the world of fine art, he created a unique kind of look in the world of movie posters. Before there was motion graphics, he was doing motion graphics for Alfred Hitchcock. Doing this on perspective like this was kind of an amazing thing in 1959 when this was done. So he's kind of a breakthrough guy. Cassie? I need to mute you, Cassie. I'm sorry. All right. So he also did a lot of logos. Some of the great logos of the 20th century. Bell Telephone, Pan Am. This is Rockwell, the Girl Scouts, United, Dixie. This is Rockwell. This is Continental. That's Pan Am, AT&T, Lowry Spices. So he knew a thing or two about logos. Now, I have a video of him when he was pitching Bell Telephone on this. It's about 12 minutes long. It's worth watching because he explains how the icon logo type configuration that we're working with works and how it's more functional than other forms of logo. So if you get a chance, spend the 12 minutes watching that. I have it here, but I'm not going to run it right now. But Saul Bass is kind of an amazing guy, and this video, even though it's very old, it's about 50 years old. It's worth taking a look at. So take a look at that. We're not going to run it now. Some other inspirational logo designers, Charles Anderson Company, which is out of Minneapolis. They do a lot of stuff for Starbucks. They do amazing work. And this is how they show their logos in black and white. So you can see the Nike swoosh. This is Tiger Woods Golf. Negative space, beautiful blocky kind of look to their stuff. The Warner Brothers frog. You've seen some of these. They did this stuff for Turner Classic Movies with these iconic figures symbolizing different genres of movies. But there's a sort of great simplicity to them and negative space being used effectively. Here's one they did for Design Custom Ink. So what do you see here? It's an octopus, obviously, right? But what else?
Drops, raindrops, teardrops.
Ink drops, right?
Ink drops.
Yeah. So in fact, the octopus is just the negative space. The ink drops sort of make up. And if you think about a screen printer, a screen printing machine looks a lot like an octopus. It has arms going out in all directions. And the ink drops make sense, right? Now, this little octopus is so cute, and it's got a lot of personality. I'll point out some things that this octopus does not have. He doesn't have eyebrows. He doesn't have teeth, lips, doesn't have ears, obviously, doesn't have a chin, but yet a lot is conveyed with a minimal number of shapes. In fact, when you look at how this is built from a shape building standpoint, using the shape building tools in Illustrator, you could recreate this kind of, right? You don't have to be Leonardo da Vinci to draw this. Think about that. Here is, this was the old logo for St. Petersburg Clearwater, and Michael Bierut and his team were brought in to redesign this for St. Petersburg Clearwater here in Florida. I got a chance to meet him while he was initiating this project. He's an amazing designer. So some of the issues with this logo, I think it's too complex. It's got these different varying sun rays, and there's two shapes for the sun, and it's got a really long name, so there's some issues there. But this is the icon that Bierut came up with. What do you see in this icon?
Wind.
Wind, yeah.
Wind.
Waves, wind, the ocean. Yeah, Sharon gets it. SPC. Does everybody see the SPC? St. Petersburg Clearwater. Huh. Yeah, and Bierut likes to put these sort of little Easter eggs in the logo. So, but the icon coupled with the type, this is how he did it. Now, he put it in a ring around here, which I don't recommend you do. He's kind of a master designer, and he's great with type, so he's able to make this work. But when you put the type in a ring around it, what happens is the logo has to be quite large in order to read the type. When it gets small, you can't read it. So what he did is created a secondary logo with the type on the side for small uses. The icon itself, you see different colors, but it becomes a focal point. It sort of draws your attention, and you know what it stands for. They're still using this logo today. But here's how it works. So on the letterhead, the ring, you have to have it quite large, and it works okay like that. But when it gets on the business card, quite small, it has to be off to the side. So I recommend keeping the type off the icon in your case. Many of you have not had typography yet. That's another issue. So keep it simple. Keep your type simple. This is another one by Bierut. What do you see in this logo icon? Go ahead, tell us, Sharon. Yeah, Fort Worth Museum, FMW. So kind of stylizing the letters extremely. but in a sort of playful way. Now, here's the thing about this museum. It's a children's museum, so it's really supposed to be about fun, but they take themselves pretty seriously. So this icon lended itself to a whole bunch of fun ideas and gives the playful nature, displays the playful nature of the museum. They had this idea for fun hats. You see how it works on the van, and it's iconic. It draws your attention at the bottom of an ad or a poster. This is one by Jeff Matz here in Orlando. He just became a gold medal winner at AIGA. Anyway, you see how the icon is a focal point. The type remains simple. You don't have to go too crazy with the type. This is another one for a charity. They make beaded jewelry for charity, so the icon looks like beaded jewelry, and the type kind of relates. It's like it fits. It's legible, it's clear, but it kind of matches it. This one, Paxia, kind of interesting icon that makes you think of Mexican tile or something, and then simple type. This is a company called 3B. I love their logo, 3B. This is Dixon's Apple Orchard. What do you see in the icon here?
I see a person.
Yeah, it's actually a bear sort of reaching up on the tree, right?
Mm.
The trunk of the tree. At first you just see the trunk of the tree and then you realize it's a bear. The type is stylized a bit, but it's very legible and it matches the feeling of the icon. They actually pulled one of the leaves out for the punctuation. And then they have a couple matching typefaces to go with it. Here's another one from 3B. This is Skarsgård. So this bold icon, the S, the nail bent into the letter S, of course you would have strong, bold type underneath that. You wouldn't put script type there because that wouldn't match. So you're sort of pairing up what the type looks like with your icon. Latitudes, in this case, a bit of italic kind of type works with this globe that kind of goes at an angle, and the angle kind of matches the type. And again, two images in one, a globe and an orange. All right, this is the work of Von Glitzka. And Von Glitzka's all over YouTube. He's got some great videos. Whatever extra time you have, you should try to look at those. This is his Gimme Organic, which is for sesame snacks. So take a look at the turtle, right? He looks playful, happy. He's having a lot of fun. It could work in black and white. The negative space kind of defines part of its flippers and the lines in the shell. What he doesn't have teeth, lips, eyebrows, iris, but he's got a lot of personality, a lot of fun, right? So you always have to think about, what do I absolutely need and what can I get rid of to keep it simple? Here's another one. Now, in this case, the type is super complex, and that's because Von Glitzka is a master at hand lettering. So he did this distinctive lettering for this. This is for a beer. But what I wanted to show you is in the icon, this kind of minor here, that's kind of got a almost devious kind of look. But the way he works this, he'll sketch it out on paper, scan it in, and then Pen Tools basically half of it, flips it to create, it's a symmetrical drawing. Now, after he's done with that, he goes in and bends certain things to make them asymmetrical. But it's a great way to avoid the tedium of pen tooling your sketch. He kind of does half and then gets the other half. But then this is a really well done icon, and you see how it works as a beer. This is maple nut brown ale, which just sounds gross to me. I like beer flavored beer. This sounds like something you put on pancakes maybe, I don't know. Any thoughts on beer? Sharon says, hooray, beer. Dustin, you're a Guinness man. Traditional. Yeah, all right. All right, next, this is another one from Von Glitzka. What do you see in here?
A wine glass.
Yeah, it looks like a wine bottle, but that's just the negative space. It's not actually there. Sometimes implying something is more powerful. Rebecca likes whiskey. I got a lot of response here. Aichin likes Moosehead. Any wine likers? Any wine lovers here? So this is we're talking about wine.
Yeah, red wine.
Red wine. Yes. Wine too. We got gin and tonic for Dustin. All right, we got some big drinkers here. All right. This is going to be a great class. You see how that works now?
In college.
Yes, in college, yeah. Well, you have to be 21 most places, but cool. So what do you see? The naked grape, and you see this, what does that bring to mind? What's the punchline there? Rebecca. Adam and Eve. Yes, Sharon. So it doesn't say Adam and Eve. It's nothing biblical about it, but it just brings it to mind, right? What could be the possible positive associations of Adam and Eve with a bottle of wine?
Every time you see them, they're naked.
Yeah, well, okay, process that one a bit. There's something hedonistic about it, right?
Mhm.
It's like pleasure and forbidden. Yeah, Dustin says the taste is forbidden, right? So you can see how that association is working for them. All right, last one, big ass fans. So if the company comes to you, they say their name is Big Ass Fans, what do? You have to draw a donkey. So Von Glitzka draws a donkey, and look at the negative space, helps define the donkey. It's really just black and white. He added yellow, but it could be black and white very easily. The donkey even has a bit of personality, but it's all in the shapes and the negative spaces. And he contains it all in this nice little shield, which is the icon over the type. This is kind of the structure I want you to follow. So, and of course, what do they make? They make really big fans. All right, so once again, your week coming up, sketch, sketch, sketch. We're already on Tuesday. Get something submitted to the discussion. Now, as I said earlier, reach out to me if you are feeling compressed because we skipped Monday. We're going to try to get everything done by Sunday, but I am open to extensions for those who need it due to the short week. Hopefully you can get some substantial work done because next week we're going to continue building on the work that we complete this week. So if you start to fall behind, you can get very far behind very quickly. Any questions about the schedule? No? All right, Sharon says no, so we're moving on. All right, here's a student sample. Mount Sapo soap again, this is Chase's thing. Now what you're looking at is the InDesign presentation template that you should have downloaded from the assignment. So when you open that up, it actually has on the side of the InDesign document little boxes that tell you what to put on everything. So this is the intro slide. Now Chase customized it, changed it a bit. Oh, we're already at 8 o'clock, sorry. All right, so let's keep moving. So here's table of contents. This is all the stuff that's in this presentation, but you're only really getting through the icon sketches for this week, or actually getting through the logo process through this week. You're gonna grab your creative brief from the Google Doc and download that, paste it into this document. You're gonna paste in your 10 keywords. You're gonna create a target audience profiles. So this is part of what you do when you get stuck. You go back and tool on this a bit. Find some inspiration. This is like your own Pinterest page, adding all these images that relate to the project that are inspirational to you. You're going to find some fonts. Now you have two kinds of fonts, display fonts that have a lot more personality and could be used for logo type. And then you have info level fonts, which are much more legible and more for like ingredients and whatnot. And then your icon sketches. Now, in your template, you'll actually have 10 little boxes to put your sketches in to keep it nice and neat. Make sure they're clear, legible, high contrast. If you need to add more, add more. You can duplicate the whole page if you want to do more. 10 is the minimum requirement. If you have more ideas, I'd love to see them. Beyond that, you're going to then take it's like the Bachelor. So the best 3 of these go on a special date with Illustrator. And this is what you do. You take your icon, you add some logo type, and you blow it out. You try many different options, 10 of each idea of 3 ideas. So basically 30 different variations. Once you find the best 3, you put them into this template, the 5.0 template, and you're testing them out. How's it look on a letterhead? How's it look on a business card? Just to see if it reads legibly. 1, 2, 3. Those 3 ideas, you're going to pick the best one. That becomes your final logo. So I know it's a lot of work and we're going over a lot of stuff quickly here. As always, reach out to me. If you can break away at noon time on Wednesday tomorrow, come see me online through the GoTo. Ask me questions. You don't have to show work if you don't have it. I'm kind of trying to be available for you if you have difficulties and need help. Any questions before I let you all go? So running over time now. All right, I'm going to end the recording. Sharon's good, so everyone else should be good. Rebecca's good. All right, don't drink too much, guys.